So we must do two things, two great things together, to encompass that enormous new view that lies before us, but to encompass it within the framework of science, to see it within the whole categorical framework of science, and to see that these two are not separate, but that they are wedded. The bigness of the idea, the newness of the idea, the greatness of it is one with the structure of science, the structure of being itself. So, through the system's process of circular organization as life, of organizing itself circularly, it becomes actually identical to the process of cognition. I see that it is identical to the process of consciousness. That living systems are cognitive systems, that their living is a process of cognition, a process of being conscious. So it is the quality of life that determines the consciousness of truth. The quality of life within us determines our consciousness, our cognitive awareness, our self-awareness, determines how we are conscious and what we are conscious of. So we come to that tone, that prayer of truth, and find the form of the effect of the cause. The form of the effect of the cause, that cause which is the word order of mind through life. That the prayer of mind, spirit, soul, principle is the only true law of cause and effect, and truth is the principle of mind, spirit, soul, principle, life. You follow? Huh? We keep, it's the snowballing, it's the autocatalysis, bringing us to the autopoiesis. And so now that principle of cause and effect shows us that the form of the effect is wholeness and health. And so it is the prayer of wholeness and health. The wholeness of that which prays within us. Truth gives us the constituency of the effect, the form of healing. I said the autopoietic system is self-healing by virtue of what it is, multiplying itself, renewing itself, and the form of that healing is wholeness. We see then that the duality of there being any other cause and effect goes out, the habitualness of life. That life is habitually mind, spirit, soul, principle. That this excludes any other law of cause and effect, any duality, therefore, of cause and effect, and therefore there is only one consciousness, the consciousness of truth. And in this truth tone we will find that truth continually refers to life, is referring to life, talking about the Father, going to the Father, about life as such, indicating that that life is life in and of spirit. So truth says go back to the Father, go to life. What is life? Mind, spirit, soul, and principle. And so as we do that, what emerges as the new phenomenon, the new form, is the true manhood within us, that we have only one consciousness within us, and that is the divine consciousness. So that habituality of life to be always mind, spirit, soul, and principle, as that is multiplying within me, that is enlarging and enlarging in me. There is nothing to me, to my constituency, to my being, except that I am that spiritual consistency and that I am organizationally closed. That the self-organizing principle within me doesn't change. The organizational, the systematic constituency of it, the categories of it, don't change anymore, and that's being organizationally closed. The text will also show many times the drive, but the drive of life, the drive toward love, but naturally as we draw closer to love, we realize that it is an attraction, that we are being attracted. The attraction within the sixth subject is to draw us, to attract us into this consciousness, as though to say, come into this consciousness, that there's an attracting of the whole system to that consciousness, to come into the closet, come into the secret, come into the sanctuary of spirit as spiritual consciousness. And that this is going the way to holiness. You remember in life we had the question of how to reach holiness. And we were shown that we had to go the way of life and that would lead us into all truth. So now we find that we are being led into all truth, to truth itself. It's entering the consciousness of life in and of spirit and striving to enter that and evolving to that point, that this is the forming of divine consciousness. Thus it is actually at this point in the text the self-organizing principle as the principle of wholeness or the principle of consciousness. And the epitome for the tone, for the prayer of truth, is that it is the prayer of spiritual consciousness, which is closed to error and open to truth. This is the openness within the closedness. The closed organization is within itself open, almost as though to reflect the divine cybernetic principle, the level of divine science, which is infinitely closed and contains infinite openness within itself. That this consciousness brings us into unity with the dominion of truth. The domain of truth, the closed, bounded domain of truth within us is our dominion. What is this prayer of spiritual consciousness? Truth as mind says it is a knowledge of the true God and the true man. That this alone can grasp the wonders of God. And we hear love already coming in, that there's a further attractor, that love is the attractor, there will be the attractor at the point of truth as love, but love itself as the main tone is working on us, attracting us. If we pray to God as a corporeal person, she says, you see, if you pray to God as a corporeal person and not as the incorporeal principle of the word of life, that word of life is incorporeal, isn't it? You remember that from the definition of God in the textbook. that God is incorporeal, divine, supreme, infinite. And that term incorporeal is descriptive of the Word, especially of the Word. And so we must pray to God as that incorporeal principle of the word order. If we don't, this will prevent us from relinquishing the human doubts and fears which attend such a belief. And so we cannot grasp the wonders wrought by infinite, incorporeal love. You see, the word order is incorporeal because the divine principle, love, is incorporeal. That infinite principle is incorporeal. And so to pray incorporeally to an incorporeal principle is how we can grasp the wonders of that infinite incorporeal love, to whom all things are possible. All things are possible through a knowledge of the divine principle love. That the divine principle love is the Father. This is the Father. So the Father stands above, life stands above. The divine principle love is life and stands above that which we are undergoing as a process that is organizing us and bringing up, raising up in us the consciousness of the Father. Consciousness of the Father. And what do we know of the Father so far? Everything that we have seen as mind, spirit, soul, principle, and life. Because of human ignorance of that divine principle, the Father of all is represented as a corporeal creator. That if we don't understand the incorporeality of the Creator, then we don't understand the incorporeality of creation. So the Creator for us is not life, the self-creating Father, the cause of all effect. And hence men recognize themselves, recognize the beautiful blending of truth and mind, to cognize, to recognize, to view oneself, to be conscious of oneself, to know oneself as merely physical. If that human ignorance of the divine principle, love, which is life, is not a living cognition within us, then we recognize ourselves merely as physical. And are ignorant, the opposite of mind, the opposite of truth and mind, ignorant of man as God's image and reflection, and of man's eternal, incorporeal existence. That a gorgeous summing up of the whole issue of the development of the evolution within us. The world of error is ignorant of the world of truth. The consciousness of error, mortal consciousness, builds up a world of error instead of the world of truth, which is spiritual consciousness. Blind to the reality of man's existence. How do we see? We see with our consciousness, don't we? We see with consciousness. What is the form? What is the grid of consciousness through which you cognize your universe? yourself and your universe. Blind to the reality of man's existence, for the world of sensation, that which has been built up by the wrong senses, the wrong sense of mind, the wrong sense of spirit, the wrong sense of soul, the wrong sense of principle, and therefore the wrong sense of life. This is the world of sensation, and it is not cognizant of life in soul and not in body. So this divine consciousness is the intelligence of the divine mind. It is that intelligence of the word order, to be able to recognize ourselves then as what we are, as God's image and reflection, and to be cognizant, therefore, of life in soul and not in the senses, not in the body. And so you see right there in Truth is Mind that she actually uses the term to be cognizant, cognition. What we were seeing that they're seeing that cognition is the process of life inextricably linked to autopoiesis, is cognition. How you cognize is dependent on the quality, the character, the constituency of the autopoietic system as we've seen it at the standpoint of life. This determines how we cognize everything. Capra says in the 12th chapter of his book, identifying cognition with the full process of life and understanding it as a process that involves, listen to this, it's a process that involves, the process of cognition involves neither a transfer of information nor mental representations of an outside world at all. To cognize something isn't to see something out there and then transfer that information to the within of us. It is not taking the mental representations of the outside world, taking them in and processing them. But cognition is the full process of life. And to understand this, he says, requires a radical expansion of our scientific frameworks. Wow. Little does he know, huh? The cognitive process is common to all living organisms. He says, I use the term consciousness to describe the level of mind or cognition that is characterized by self-awareness. Awareness of the environment is a property of cognition at all levels of life. Awareness of the environment, touch of love, that once we are properly self-aware, we become properly aware of our environment. He says self-awareness in the higher forms of life fully unfolds in the human mind. Well, this is the impact, isn't it? It's the impact of the divine on the human. We are not only aware of our environment then, we are also aware of ourselves and of our inner world. The very same words, huh? The world of truth within us. In other words, we are aware that we are aware. We know, but we don't only know, we also know that we know. It is this special faculty of self-awareness that I term consciousness, he says. Our self, you see, it's the true selfhood that now, which is a state of unselfishness, of unselfed love, the true self. I'm putting that in as the divine input. And what is he saying about the self? The self does not have any independent existence, but is a result of our internal structural coupling. Our internal structural coupling. How the whole system, the whole network is related to itself. How mind couples with spirit, spirit couples with soul, soul couples with principle, principle with life, life with truth, and truth with love. That this is our self. It has no independent existence. It is that structural coupling, that internal structural coupling. This, then, he says, is the crux of the human condition. What is the crux of the human condition? We are autonomous individuals, shaped by our own history of structural changes. Isn't that what we've seen? That continual structural changing every time we came to a new prayer, to a new tone in the subject. Every new subtone was changing us structurally until we became self-organized. And being self-organized, we became autopoietic. And that autopoiesis within us, that redundancy of life within us, has raised up consciousness. We are self-aware, aware of our individual identity. And yet, when we look for an independent self within our world of experience, we cannot find any such entity. It's incorporeal. Our tendency to create separate objects, including a separate self, and then to believe that they belong to an objective, independently existing reality is mistaken. We need to think systematically. Shifting our conceptual focus from objects to relationships. Only then can we realize that identity, individuality, and autonomy do not imply separateness and independence. He says we have treated the natural environment, the web of life, as if it consisted of separate parts. And we do, don't we? We split up our universe into people, into things, into objects. When we come out from the human and mortal system of reference. Moreover, we have extended this fragmented view to our human society, dividing it into different nations, races, religious, and political groups. The belief that all these fragments are really separate has alienated us from nature and from our fellow beings. To regain our full humanity, we have to regain our experience of connectedness. Truth leading us to love. connectedness with the entire web of life. This reconnecting, religio in Latin. Did you catch that? He says that's religio in Latin. Haven't we seen how she brought in, now twice in this chapter, true religion? She speaks of the true religion. You remember that? Hmm? And in the 16th chapter, at the close of the textbook, she speaks of true religion. Something about John having lifted, taken away mitre and scepter and all of this paraphernalia of a false sense, and through science, through the consciousness of the calculus, city four square, religion, true and undefiled, is established. And so this reconnecting is religio. It is the being bounded back to our principle. And he says this is the very essence of our spiritual grounding.